if you've taken a class from me with the herb talks, you might be familiar with some of this stuff, the information that I have that I want to offer. So my background is owner operator Ben Hicks Yoga, but my education is, no, we're not going to do this. You can do that. You can do that. Yeah, come on in. Okay, so holistic health practitioner in California. I went to a school of naturopathy run by Dr. Steven Schechter, who is a naturopath practitioner. So basically, it's everything except I can't prescribe stuff. I don't diagnose things, stuff like that. So I might have a lot. I'd like to think I'm always learning, but I have some information that could be useful in everybody else's journey. So that's what this is about. Opportunity for you to think about what you're doing, your interests, where you're at, bring it up to somebody who might be able to give some input. Because I hear a lot of times what people are doing, and you can move in if you need to. I always kind of question where people might be getting their information. It could be a magazine, it could be on YouTube, it could be on Facebook. You see stuff and you don't really know the person. So this will be a chance for us to kind of dial that in. I brought samples, so I'm going to talk about the different kinds of herbs or the status of the herbs and then how to use them. And route, that would be how you would take it through the mouth. You could go through the nose. You could go through the skin, absorption, things like that. And then the dose, how much, how many times a day, a week, things like that. And then route, the dosage, and delivery. Delivery, that's a big one. Because you have different types, different forms of the herb, and then the delivery can be a liquid, it can be an ointment, it can be a salve, it can be a tincture, it can be a tea, it can be a smoke. All these different things, it depends on how you want to and how you can use it. So a little bit of that on me. I have this clinic. I call it a herbal clinic that's open to the public, the community-based herbal clinic, donation-based clinic. So it's just come in, if you need herbs, just donate a little bit, whatever you can afford, and I can provide that for you. You can get herbs. I can help you with making blends if that's the case, or direct you a little bit on stuff like that. You can also do consultations. And it's not a bad thing. It's a nice resource that we have here. I have probably over 100 different herbs that are organic. And like I said, they're for body systems, and we should talk about that too. The body system, health conditions, right? So you got specific organs, you got body systems, organ systems, and then you have illnesses, conditions like that. And you have maintenance. Are you doing prevention? Are you treating for therapy? Doing stuff like that. Okay, with that, who wants to start? Sheila?
Sure. I wanted to know more about, what do you say, ointments, how to do ointments, or, for your skin.
Yeah. Okay, so an ointment. Go ahead. Okay, so Sheila has asked this before. So she had, can I mention a skin condition like
Like,
eczema?
yeah, I just have super dry skin and eczema. And sometimes it looks like cancer and they test it and it's eczema.
Yeah. So a lot of people have that eczema, contact dermatitis, things like that. You know, you can be exposed to something and you get the dry skin. My nephew gets that. He'll use something like sunblock and he'll get like this eczema stuff, psoriasis, and contact dermatitis type things. And so if you wanted to make a salve, and let's just take um, something that's soft, something that's a demulcent, something that's going to soothe the skin, like aloe vera, like gel of aloe vera. So if you had a gel, you can put that on there, and that's natural. But if you want to make a salve, let's start with a salve because that's beeswax, yeah, and oil. So you would take the herb and you would put it in the oil and let it sit and infuse the oil. And so the oil gets infused, and that can be, you can let it sit with something like a cloth or cotton t-shirt as a lid, with a rubber band, so that it breathes, can sit out in sun. So it's like making sun tea. And it can sit for, I'm a little fuzzy on how long, but it might be up to 6 weeks, you know. Now you can do this in a faster way too. Then you take that oil, you strain out the herb, and then you'll have this dark colored oil that's got all the herb constituents in it, just not the bulk anymore. Then you take that and you take a double boiler, put it on the stove, and you take beeswax. And you can buy this at herb stores, you can buy blocks of it, you can buy big bricks of it. A lot of times people get the granules, you can get the little nuggets and discs. They make it so it's user friendly, so you can use it. And then you put it in the double boiler, which is water and the pot on top and lid. And that way, so it doesn't boil over and get everywhere. You put the oil, put the beeswax, mix it up. It's warm, and then you can pour it in your container, your jar. And I think Sheila, you've done this.
I've made some stuff like that, yeah, but not the herb. I've done sunscreen, my own sunscreen.
Yeah. And so there you go. Then you have it. Now, if you wanted to use this in vitamin E cream, for instance, lanolin, you go to the store and you can buy all these things. You go to the beauty supply store and you can get stuff that would be the bulk or the base for lotion. And you can do the same thing there. Just infuse the oil, add it to the cream. So you've got beeswax, or you've got lanolin. You could use, what are other ways you can infuse the herb? Things, so we're talking about, basically you want to infuse something with the herb. Oil, olive oil, jojoba oil, things like that. What about honey? Yeah, honey is a preservative too. What about vegetable glycerin? Everybody aware of that? Is that a skincare thing? Glycerin. Yep. So you can use that to infuse things, and that can be good for your skincare. So you use that glycerin, infuse that instead of the oil, and then you can use that with your cream, lotion for your skin dermatitis, things like that. Well, that's a good question. So let's go through one more. Vinegar is another one you can infuse stuff in. Topical, though, those oil, honey, not honey, oil and vegetable glycerin, I'd say. Those are the two I would use for the skin. What herb would I use for, since we're talking about any kind of skin thing, irritation? Oh, slippery elm. And the one that I'm thinking of is anything that's a mallow, like Malva, Acea family. It's got the gelatin thing going on. And we have a lot of that grows wild. It used to. There's not a lot of open space in Havasu anymore. So you'll see these on the sidewalk, Malva plant, and they're kind of low-lying weed that'll spread out, it'll creep out. Malva. Malva? Yeah. It's there's
Malva,
there's different
Malva,
ones.
Malva or Malo? What is it? You said
Well,
Malva?
it's Malva, Malva, and I'm not getting the right name. There's different Malva. We'll just call it the whole family. The species is Malvaceae, and anybody that gets on YouTube and they know more, they're probably going to look at me and say, he's got that wrong. Because I think I got it a little bit wrong. I know the plant, and I know Malva, and it's gooey like mucus, and that would be a good thing. And it's interesting that it grows all over in the desert because we can use it to heal our skin, and it's great for sunburns. It's like aloe. It's like jello. It's like gel. Now, aloe is another one. I don't know. I mean, you see that in everything that's skincare, right? Aloe, vitamin E is pretty standard. You could do that. You could take aloe and you could fillet it, take the gel out, cut it out, put it in your thing, blend it up, or blend it, then add it to get it really liquefied. But it might be tough to deal with that way. I don't know. I've never done that. You can buy it in a liquid form and pour it and add it. Lily of the Desert is the brand I would use. They have liquid that you can drink. They have liquid gel that you can use wholly for inner fillet. And I always use the inner fillet for stuff like that. If you're growing it, then you've got it, handy that way. I would just use that. I wouldn't even make a salve. I would just use the aloe. There's a herb I'm thinking of, and I can see it. I might have to grab the jar to jog my memory. But we use it internally for irritation in the lungs, in the lining of the epithelial tissue, GERD, stuff like that. I'm gonna have to grab it because I'm drawing a blank. Mullein. Mullein? Mullein. Okay. Mullein. Mullein. That's another one. That one, if you just look at that plant, it's like a little fluffy, furry leaf, puffy plant. Almost looks like a mix between a succulent and a weed. If you're from Flagstaff area, it grows prolifically everywhere. Every yard's got mullein growing all over the place. And so in some areas, you've got it handy. That works. It's a super emollient, demulcent. That means it coats tissue internally and externally. You can smoke it. People use it for irritation. You can drink it. You can use it externally. That's mullein. Want to pass it around? Take a look at it. Shake it around. You can smell it. Yeah.
So would you mix, like if you did a salve, would you mix, like I have slippery elm and I have mullein, would you put them both in there, or is that?
Not a bad idea.
Okay.
Not a bad idea. Slippery elm, marshmallow root. Slippery elm is used from, it's a little crude, mouth to anus. Internal tissue, mouth to anus. Slippery elm. Slippery elm is also super nutrient dense. And what that means is it's got all your nutrients and electrolytes, perfect ratio of calcium, magnesium. You could live on it. And there's a couple stories in Alaska when they are getting through the winter time, they'll store food, then they have bear fat, and then after that they have slippery elm. So if the wind, depending on how long the winter goes and how long the food lasts. So if they go through their food and they start eating bear fat, and that runs out, then they start eating slippery elm, and they can survive on that. My teacher, he told us a story where he did the Appalachian Trail, and all he took was a bag of slippery elm powder, and he'd put snow in a cup and powder in a cup, mix it up, and drink it. And it turns like gelatin, and so it really coats the internal epithelial tissue and heals it, but it's also nutrient dense. So, and it's just a sheet of paper basically. If you take an elm tree, you cut a little strip, peel it back, it's that inner lining. Do I have any here? I didn't. Yeah. Super nutrient dense. The question was, is it nutrient dense? Yeah. And the answer is yeah. Now I use it when people have GERD. People have stomach ulcers, stuff like that. Irritation in the throat lining. If you've vomited a lot, if you've anything like that, but the whole way through. So marshmallow root's the other one, but marshmallow root's more the upper. So I'll use them both in conjunction with another. Yeah, it would be good for indigestion and heartburn. That was the question. Balancing the pH. You want to kind of, with indigestion and heartburn, what do we kind of think of? What the go-to is? Antacid. You go apple cider vinegar. There you go. pH balance. So you're balancing the pH. Yeah, that's papaya, digestive enzymes, things like that. So you want to do something that reverses that negative feedback cycle to where we're creating acid and stuff like that, and let it heal. And then slippery elm was part of that component to heal. Okay. Did that answer your question, Sheila?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
We kind of went on, but that's how it goes. Yep. Carrie's got a question. Skull cap. Yeah. So that's, yeah. So I use skull cap and mullein for someone's allergies once.
What's it called? Full cap?
Skull cap.
Skull-
SKULL. Cap.
Okay.
CAP. And I don't have the Latin name. My teacher used to rattle off the Latin name, where it's from, where it grows, everything like that. And so anyway, I got my allergy attack. Last time I did this class, I had an allergy attack. And that person came in and said, "Oh, remember what you gave me?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." Because I didn't take it. But, and honestly, if you said I have allergies, I would not recommend skull cap. I don't know where that came from. Yeah, okay. So why do you take skull cap? Ah, yeah. So, okay, so somebody took the skull cap for allergies in a blend. Now I had to pull the book. This is the Bible. Maybe this is the strength of skull cap. Any nervous system malfunction, mild or chronic in nature. It's a nervine sedative, so it calms the nervous system. When I use skullcap, it's for sleep. It's in a sleep blend. So, like I said, I never would have thought that skullcap worked for allergies, but maybe it works for the nervous system and it helps somehow with the allergies. But I use skullcap, passion flower, the Melissa, not valerian root, not, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm going with things that are not destabilizers or not volatile. So passion flower for sleep, good for kids. It's not erratic. It's going to work. You're not going to have any groggy effect. Skullcap, same thing. Melissa, same thing. Chamomile, same thing. Chamomile. So we know these as just nervine, calms the nervous system, helps you sleep. You don't have the effect. Now, valerian, bless you. Valerian root is what a lot of people think of. And if you go to the store, you'll see it in sleep. Nighttime blend tea. There's valerian. Okay. But valerian is like it's a destabilizer. So there are herbs that are very consistent, very safe, very easy. Consistent meaning they work every time on everybody pretty much the same way. Valerian's not one of them. Valerian you might take it, you get the best night's sleep ever. I take it and I'm up all night, pacing the room, or you're going to wake up with side effects like I'm groggy now. I felt like I had, taken NyQuil or drugs. And that is one. I have it, but I don't use it ever. Unless somebody says I use it and it works for me, then I'll give it to them. Yeah. So if it works for you, and some people, that's the only thing it does. It's a heavy hitter. So there you go. No, it's not addictive. It's nothing like that. It's just how herbs use. Everything I have is going to be it's not going to be a heavy hitter, meaning it's like not the strongest, but it's probably the easiest, safest, most consistent. And that's what you kind of look at too, so that you don't get any of those weird reactions. And there's some out there that are like, you got to watch what you take. I have one right here, tribulus, good for the kidneys. But what is it? It can enlarge the prostate. So, if you take too much, if you're a guy and you're trying to it doesn't give you testosterone, but a lot of people sell it to give men testosterone, but it doesn't. So this is a good example. I brought this out as an example of how we get misinformation. People are selling stuff that's not accurate. And then some guy starts taking too much. Guess what? Prostate cancer. Because he overdid something. This one's tribulus. And the other reason I brought this up, because we have roots, we have flowers, we have leaves, we have stems, bark that we use for plant medicine. This one is like a seed and it's a thorn. I grew up in Havasu, so this thing was everywhere. These grow prolifically and they flatten your tires and your bikes. Or if your ball goes off in the yard, you're guaranteed you're going to have a flat. These are gnarly thorns, and we call them goat heads. They're goat head stickers. Have you heard that? Yeah. So you're taking your chances if you walk in a field in Havasu in the 80s or in the 70s, because you're going to walk through a field of these and you're going to have a foot full of thorns. Gnarly. We can stand these things. So, to my surprise, here they are, in my herb collection where I could pick them. Let's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Anybody else have a question? It's not.
Can't hear the other people's questions or hear what they're saying.
I don't know.
Can't hear the other people that are in the room. I can hear their questions.
It helped the lady. Sinus allergies. So the question is, what would I take for sinus allergies? And the answer for me is bee pollen. And then the sinus, so bee pollen, and I didn't bring it up, but I do have a bottle of it. And why bee pollen? Because it's got the flower in it. It's got in it, that's histamines. We're talking about histamine allergies. That's the sinus one. Food. Yeah. So if you have, okay, so you got histamine allergies, that's the nose, the eyes, all that stuff. That's the bee pollen. And then when you're taking bee pollen, you do dosage would be very small amount daily, and then you increase it every week. So if I got a bottle of bee pollen, I'd say, here you go. And then you went home and took a tablespoon of it, you'd probably have an allergic reaction. You have to start really slow, little granules at a time, increase it. And then after about 2 weeks to a month, then you're up to a tablespoon or a teaspoon. That's probably all you need. Take that daily, and then you got that in your system. And that's why they say, everybody goes, honey, local honey for allergies. Yeah, I'm not sold on that, but yeah, it's the idea. Get the local bee pollen, even better. And then, so food allergies, that's a good question. When we get into food allergies, we get into the elimination diet, which I'm sure everybody has heard, maybe even done, to try to figure out what the food is. Another bee product is bee propolis. So bee propolis is basically pine tree sap. Okay, it's completely antibiotic, antibacterial. It's what bees put around their hive. And the bees come in and out, and they rub their legs and body on that bee pollen, or that bee propolis, which is pine. And that's what keeps the hive so clean. Now, the miracle of that is it has an effect when you take it. It's worked for me for food poisoning. And I've used it with somebody else who had an allergy to shellfish, and the lips puffed up and all that. So that one comes to mind, food allergies, like something you had a reaction to. I always would keep bee propolis in my medicine cabinet. I traveled to India and I got sick, and I had bee propolis with me, and I was taking it. And I took it once I got sick. I got that stomach thing. And then it didn't get better, but I didn't get worse. And then I took 2 of those antibiotics. Took 2 antibiotics, and that was it. I was good. I didn't take the whole run, didn't take any more, and I was fine. And it was instant. I think because I had so much propolis in me and I'd already gotten a start on it, it wasn't as bad. So I didn't have to take the whole, and I mean, literally, I popped one, I forget what it was, and just, I was right as rain, just like, yeah. So what's another question? Was that a sufficient answer? Okay, a lot of info. It's a liquid, and you take it, I would take it in hot water because it'll stick to your teeth. Think of it, it's tar, it's sap, pine sap. Like if you took pine sap, how sticky that is. Put it in a little heat, hot, warm water, drink it. Yeah. I don't, you know what? And a full disclosure, I get my bee pollen from Oregon. Yeah, and it's freeze dried. So if you're getting fresh pollen, it's got to be fresh. Okay, so it's got to be refrigerated. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. If you go to a farmer's market or something and get bee pollen, make sure it's freeze dried. Otherwise, it's rancid. Pollen gets rancid, and then you get an allergic reaction. If you get a little bit of a bite or stinging or any kind of numbness in your mouth, back of your throat, roof of the mouth, stuff like that, it's rancid pollen. Or you're having an allergic reaction to it. You don't. I take it in a smoothie, yeah. So a delivery form for bee pollen is, yeah, some people put in yogurt. You can put in anything food. You can put it in your smoothie. You can put it in your tea. It's a sweetener. Yeah, it sweetens. It basically looks like the pollen granules on a bee's leg. You know how they have those little flour sacs on their legs? That's what it looks like. No. Once it's once it's if it's fresh, if you buy something fresh, make sure it's refrigerated before you buy it if it's fresh. Otherwise, ask them if it's freeze dried, and then it's safe to not be refrigerated. I used to get it. Okay, so the story is in San Diego. I lived there, and they have Fraser Farms Market, they have Henry's Market, they have all these markets are orchard markets, right? And they'd have pollen, bee pollen, the local bee pollen, fresh. The stuff's chewy. I mean, you'd eat it and it's like chewy goodness, right? Well, it's in the refrigerated case. It's in the refrigerated case, and you got to get it. Don't let it sit in the car all day because it'll go bad. You got to put it in a refrigerator, just like when you get milk or something like that. You get it, transport it, refrigerate it. If it's freeze dried, and that's how you'd get it if you ordered something online, it's freeze dried. Then it's safe. It's stable. It's stable stuff. That's the word. Yeah, it's got to be. If you're taking it, you'd know. You'd know. If you were taking it, you'd have a reaction. Yeah, I keep it on. If it's freeze dried, you're good. Yeah. Another question. What do we got, Kathleen? You want to turn that off? Yeah. Larry, you got a question? You wanna yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, this is a good question. Okay, I'm going to repeat your question so you can hear it. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So you got like 5 things. I'm going to stop you there. You got about 10 different things there in that question. And I'm going to repeat it so that everybody can hear it on the video. So Larry is concerned with, okay, introducing stuff. And this is good. Using diet first. Using diet to add the supplements, to balance the body, to all these things. Find the food. And I do this too. So if I'm missing or lacking in something, I go, what's the most nutrients in that, and I can find in a certain food, and I start going to that food. That's called the nutrient dense diet, by the way. And that's nutrient dense diet. So you just eat foods that are the highest nutrient quality in the food. So you don't shop for you can shop for color, but you're not shopping for a recipe basically. So it becomes very straightforward and direct. You're eating for nutrients. You're like an animal. You're foraging for what you need, right? Okay. So then you go to using herbs, and first I'm going to address the immune system, because that's the one is like if Larry has allergies and we get hit, you know, it could be something like even in the food allergy. I ate this when I was a kid, but now it's something's wrong. What's different? Is it the immune system? What system is it? Now you can take herbs for systems to build the system. And so you have herbs that are, we'll put a minus, that's a cleanser. We'll put a 0, that's a tonifier. We'll put a plus sign, that's a builder. Okay, so those are the 3 kind of herbs that we take. That's what herbs do. Cleanse, tonify, build. So if you took your system and you said, I got a problem with my system, I'm going to cleanse it. So I'm going to take herbs, maybe in conjunction, to cleanse. Then I'm going to tonify. That's the strength, and tonifiers are herbs that you can take for the rest of your life. Cleanse, not so much. You don't want to cleanse. A lot of people get addicted to cleanse. You hear that? I'm going to cleanse. Time for a cleanse. I'm going to cleanse my liver. I hear it all the time. And I said, you cannot cleanse your organs. You can cleanse things around the organ, that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. And then you go to builder. You want to build it up. So you got an organ. I'm going to keep it tonified, right? If you're a bodybuilder, you're going to get toned. We do yoga, we stay toned. But building is something else. Building muscle, building mass, building things. I'm going to start adding weight or something like that. So that's the herbs that would do that. And that's going to give you my immune system is now strong. So every system is like that, every body system. You got a respiratory system, cardiovascular system, digestive system, nervous system. Okay, the list goes on. If I took that nervous system, or if I took the respiratory system, and I just chipped away at it, cleanse it, and then tonify it, and then build it. Just like you looked for food to give you the nutrients for your organ, you would look for the herbs to do those 3 things. That's it. Does that make sense? You can do this with those questions. What's going to be a cleanser for this system? Knowing what system you're working with, and then knowing those 3 questions. Where do I find the best builder? Where do I find the best tonifier for that system? And that's how I would approach, or do approach, things. If you came to me and you had this problem, I would go that direction. And then I have a little bit of knowledge where I could kind of draw or guess, you know. Did that hit the, okay, that, yeah, so that's pretty much it. Now we could get contraindications, mixing herb. That was the other question. What if I take all these and what, hope for the best? What's going to happen to me? Now, if these were all pharmaceuticals, if these were synthetics, then you're going to probably be in convulsions or something will go wrong, right? You're going to have an interaction. So herbs are very unique because plants mimic our DNA. So our DNA is like plants. Plants' DNA is like us. So we understand, we speak the same language. So when I take plants, the plant is a real living thing. It's not a synthetic. So you got the different synthetic and organic or natural. And it will fit. If you have, let's say I have a missing piece in the puzzle and I have a plant, it's got all the pieces, it's not going to ramrod the other pieces. It's going to get rid of those pieces. It's just going to fit like that. So it's going to fit like a puzzle. It will get rid of the things you don't need or don't apply and then fill the gap that you do need. And so chances are, and I combine herbs all the time. I take the kitchen sink approach sometimes. I make a smoothie that's probably got 12 herbs in it, you know, every day. And it's just, and I do it like a little shake of that. So I don't measure anything, blend it. And then, you know, I'm relying on that principle that the herbs are only going to do the thing that they're meant to do, that I need. Otherwise, they won't. And then that's called therapeutic or prevention. So you do that for prevention. That's what I do. So I have something in mind for body systems, maybe all body. And I take things in accordance, put them together down the hatch. That's the approach I take. And then, or the delivery. And then I kind of go from there. And personal experiment. I'm an experiment, right? And then going over time, and then you just see, you see how you react. Now, and that's the safety net. You couldn't do that with other things. But that doesn't mean you have to be the kitchen sink approach. That's not always the best either. Especially if you're working with one specific thing, you don't want to overdo it. Most herbalists that are really experienced will go from my approach, grab it all, just take that top shelf and bring it to me, you know, and then, or they end up with one herb. Michael Tierra is one of those guys. He said he started out, Michael Tierra is an Oriental medical doctor and an herbalist, and he's got a book. I couldn't tell you the name of it, but it's a great book. And he's down to ginger. That's the one thing he takes for everything. Anything that comes up, it's ginger. Where it used to be everything. It's not that he doesn't know what everything does, because he wrote a book and he knows a lot. But he deduced to everything. And a lot of herbalists are like that. They'll take one thing. My teacher, I think he had a couple different herbs, and he would always rattle off these couple names. And they're not herbs that I ever used. I've never used them. Berberines, things like that. And I don't even touch them. So it's just kind of a weird thing. I'm more nettles. If you gave me one herb, it'd be nettles, you know? So there you go. So
Question.
Go ahead, Sheila.
If you're done with that question. So I was listening to some herb stuff. And is there herbs you would recommend for, like, if you just did a couple of them as a multiple vitamin, or does it just depend on your system?
If you used herbs just as a multivitamin,
Is there
Yeah.
certain ones?
Yeah. Nettles.
Nettles, okay.
Okay, so I'll rattle off herbs that I would use as a multivitamin. Herbs that I would use that give you all your nutrients. Nettles is one. So nettles has iron, really high in iron, and it's got all your electrolytes. And I think, I'm going to move from nettles to moringa leaf, which you've probably heard. It's been a very popular herb. It's kind of gone down in popularity. Moringa. Moringa is that tree that grows in that. And Sheila, you can appreciate this because you're planting trees and stuff.
I've
And
planted like 3 of them, yeah.
yeah, so moringa is the one that grew in Africa and Australia, arid places, does really well in this kind of heat climate, but it's super nutrient dense. And it makes sense because it's in an area, it grows in areas that food is not really, it's hard to garden. It's hard. We can't garden here in the desert. We can't grow stuff. It's really tough. So you have this tree that has leaves and flowers that are super nutrient dense because it gives you the 56 nutrients that we need. So, and I just think of it as very nutrient dense. Leaves, plants. Okay, that would be the other one. The other one out of that is alfalfa. Yeah, I'm vegetarian. So I go for things that are high in amino acids and protein. So, yeah, protein. It's the what do horses eat? Alfalfa. And where do you think horses don't need protein or they don't get protein? Yeah. So the building blocks of protein, amino acids, alfalfa has. Okay, so I'm just going to interject sprouts, seaweed, algae. Those are the highest sources of protein because they get the most sunlight. Things that get the most sunlight have the highest source of protein. You look surprised, Gary. I'm getting this. Yeah, it's not, what does it do? It goes right up and it grows about a foot a day. Yeah, to get up to that sun. And when you look out in the ocean, you see those seaweed patches, those kelp beds, and it's just nothing but looks like land because they're all getting that sun. Yeah. And they take that nori, kombu, what's a couple other ones? Dulce, it's all seaweed, different areas, different parts of the world. Okay, so algae, chlorella, spirulina, those also. And this is coming from the Hippocrates Institute. This is anti-cancer stuff or treating cancer stuff even. Okay, so that's where I'm getting that information on those 3. I remember I came across that and I was like, wow, that was an eye opener. But you could live on that. What's the other one that's got all 56 nutrients and B12 and everything else? It does. It does. Blackstrap molasses. But there's another one. 2 tablespoons for women, 1 tablespoon a day for men. Blackstrap molasses. Bee pollen. Bee pollen is a superfood. There you go. You said it. Suzanne said it. Superfood. You could live on that. What's another one? Cacao is more. Cacao goes antioxidants. I go antioxidants with cacao, but we got slippery elm. We just talked about slippery elm. You could live on that. An adult male could live on a 9-inch strip of slippery elm bark for a month. It's enough nutrients to survive for like a month. So if you had that in your pantry and you came down to the end of winter and you're not going to make it because you're out of food, it's not going to be pretty, but you could survive. I have it. Yeah.
So Ben,
Hold on one second, Sheila. Suzanne's got one question, but hold that thought. You mean eat it? Okay, slippery elm and marshmallow root, they are gelatinous. So you take it, you put it in hot water, and you heat it, and then as it cools, it turns to gelatin. Before it gets real solid, you drink it in liquid form. That's what coats and heals. Okay, Sheila?
well, that's kind of what I was going to ask. So you don't put that, just like you don't put it straight in your smoothie. You would make like a tea and use that in your smoothie.
Yeah, that's how I
You're,
would do that one. Yeah,
okay.
that's by itself. You look like you've got a question. Okay. Okay, so that got us into the nutrient survival stuff. Okay, good. Oh yeah, Ben's blend. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. Well, that's a good question, and that's important. So I mentioned that I'm an experiment, and so what Susan's question is basically we do stuff and then we stop. We do things and we think I did it, so I'm good, right? So if I take a vitamin C, I'm good. I took 10,000 milligrams of vitamin C. I'm good. So I'm just gonna go. I don't need it anymore. But we forget that it's water soluble. We sweat it out. We urinate it out. We need it every day. You got to take it every day. I don't. You got to get it in your food. You can supplement it, but you're gonna have to get it. Okay. So the stuff that I do as an experiment, put stuff in your smoothie. Do your best. Take your medicine. Blah blah blah. And think of it as like I don't know if it's working. I don't know if it's doing anything because I don't have two of me, right? I don't have a test subject and I don't do blood tests all the time. I'm terrible. I don't do blood tests. I mean, I just did a blood test and it's been 6 years. So I don't know. I can't compare what it was or what it is. So anyway, the thing you can do is do your blood work, get a baseline, take your stuff. And that'll tell you if it's working or not. And no matter what it is, what I do is I built up to it. It didn't start like that. You'll adapt, you'll tweak it, you'll change, you'll do things that work. And herbs talk to you. The more time you spend with them, the more they resonate. Like I said, ginger for Dr. Tierra. That's the one. Nettles for me. That's the one that talks to me. You know, moringa, I try to make friends with moringa, but it just doesn't click. I keep going back to nettles. Nettles is my go-to. Okay. And I know that. So, but everything else too, I still do. But I'll kind of taper off or tweak or how often. But you got to be consistent with stuff. You can't expect change when you start and stop and then do something new. And people, it's just, I think how our brains work, how we're wired, because it's so common for us to go hot. Oh, I'm on it. You know, people will come in as a consultant. You know, people will come in and tell me what they're doing, and then I'll see them again. How's it going? Oh, I'm doing this other thing now. I switched gears and changed to something else. Well, you can't be an experiment if you keep changing the experiment. You know, if you keep changing the formula, you know, it takes for every illness that you might have had or do have, it's 1 month of healing for every year you had the illness. So if you were 20 years in, you got 20 months to work on it. So you can't go a month, 2 months, 3 months, get bored and quit and expect results. You're not going to get the results. You got to wait it out 20 months being consistent. Herbs don't work that fast either. Herbs go real slow. You're not going to go in there for pain or something and be like, bam. Sometimes, but most of the time, it's going to work very gently, transitioning, changing things, and it's very slow. And you got to be patient, just have faith, doing the right thing, tweak as you go, make changes, adapt. Maybe it's something the way you're taking it isn't working for you, but it has to resonate, and you have to be, it's just like coming to yoga. You can't go to yoga for 1 week and think I'm hot on yoga. I'm coming back and then disappear for 3 months and then come back for 1 day and then disappear for a year. I've been doing yoga for 20 years. And like, how often were you doing yoga in the 20 years? Well, about 6 classes. I said, well, that doesn't count, you know? So it's the same thing. Okay, so you have to have that perspective and discipline. That's the only, I mean, it's hard work, right? Go ahead. Yeah, really good. Yeah, really good question. Okay, so it's perfect. Susan is taking a blend and she's just doing it for maintenance, right? You're doing prevention. Okay, so you're picking some. I'm doing something for prevention. So I'm picking my favorite blend based on like you'd go to the store and you're getting all the nutrients, putting in a blend, taking it every day. And then you've got a problem. Like I got a body system problem, whether it's allergy, food allergy, whatnot. And then I'm going to take something for it to treat it. So that's therapeutic. I'm doing therapeutic. We did prevention. Take it the rest of your life. Most of it's going to be tonifying herbs. So you're tonifying the organs so that they don't run into problems like you're having, or you might be having an issue that's specific, tissue specific thing, and then you start treating it with herbs. And so then you're going you're going in a different way of working. You're going more. You're going 3 times a day. Make a blend, pick a blend, tissue specific for your interest or injuries or illness, and stick with it that way. 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, you make the changes. So this is called working your way through the river of healing. So if I have an illness that comes up, I'm going to say, okay, identify the problem. What is it? It could be, most of the times people will come in and I've got this stomach thing going on, blah, blah, blah. And I'll research, and it'll come back to something else. You'll find the root. And that's what you're looking for. You're trying to fix the root. Why did this symptom come out? Well, the symptom is usually something else. So it's not the root. It's the same thing with body work. My arm hurts. Well, what did you do? I fell on my hip. My arm hurts. So I'm going to work on the arm, but not necessarily. You got to find the root. What happened 10 years ago? Things like that. And so you start treating things like that, and you'll pick your plan, stick to it, go 2 weeks, make changes based on that 2 weeks. Did it get worse? Did it get better? It got better. Keep doing the plan. Another 2 weeks. Did it get worse? Did it get better? It got worse. So we're going to change some stuff up. We're going to add something. We're going to take something out. Tweak it. Go another 2 weeks. Do that 2 months. Give yourself a little time because herbs work slow. Talked about that. 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. If it goes bad to worse, then you're going down the river of healing. So you're starting mild, gentle. You go to the next river. Go to the next river. Think of tributaries. Going there, going there, going there. The last road is allopathic medicine, the last river. Okay, so we start with herbs. We start with tea. We start with gentle. Massage therapist, chiropractor, physical therapy, orthopedic surgeon. We don't just go, and this is not the way it usually works. Most people, my knee hurts, orthopedic surgeon. They go have surgery right away. They didn't go through the river of healing. Same thing with medicine. Urgent care, prescription, allopathic medicine. You can't go back from that. You start taking your drugs. Oh, now I'm going to take nettle tea. And no, it doesn't work that way. So you got to be like, life threatening is one thing. Life threatening. I think my gallbladder is going out. So I'm constipated. I'm throwing up. I'm dehydrated. That's another story. You got to get to the hospital or something. But if it's something that you can deal with, and I would stress that, if it's something you're working on, you recognize you can change it, you have time, go through the river of healing. And I forget the gal's name. It's an herbalist. That's where I got that. That's not for me. I'll look it up, but she's amazing. Herbalist. I've seen her talk, and she's got a lot of YouTube information out there, but she's just really, really easy to listen to, clear cut. Okay, is that good? Good answer? Oh. Okay. Okay, so the question is, this is not an herbal question. This is kind of, okay, so you're healing yourself with your mind, with the herbs too. So that's intention. So when we have intention, anything we do, we believe in what we're doing. And so like my intention when I make the blend, it's 100% that what I'm doing is doing something. And I think that goes a long way. I think that's a good point, is like to take something and not have intention is to be disconnected from it, and chances are it might work anyway, but it's good to have that healing because your body is always healing itself. Your body is doing the work, right? It knows what to do, and it's 100% 24/7. This assisted stuff with the intention, it's like when if I have pain in my elbow and I take my hand and put it on there, it's the intention, whether I like it or not, to heal, and using energy that I have by electrical energy to put there and start that healing. That is my intention, to heal. And when I take the herbs, it's a tool, but it could be anything. It could be other stuff too that resonates with you, that gives you that connection that you can have an intention to heal. It could be allopathic medicine. It could be aspirin. It could be, everybody's got that connection with something. I'm not going to poo-poo one or the other, because you gotta have what works for you. And you'll get that. Why is it somebody can be all in the health side of things, diet and herbs, natural, and then the other person can be 100% the other way, and they both seem to do all right. And they survive, they do their thing, and they get through life. Some do better than others. And a lot of it is that mental quality, possibly the intention of what they're using. It really works for them. They're behind it with their mind. And so they're able to, it's a tool. Like I'm good with working with my hands. I'm not so much on the computer. So yeah, art and stuff on the computer, I'd rather get in there, get my hands dirty. But somebody else, it's the other way around. Yeah.
So Ben,
Larry had a three-fer. Okay, three-fer question. Okay, go ahead.
So this is probably this would be more long-term care, but if someone keeps getting skin cancer,
Yeah.
would you have something, would you say like a poultice, or something you put on the skin that you recommend?
That's a tough one. The question with skin cancer, like there again, you can get to the root of what's happened. Like skin cancer is a whole nother animal. So the damage that we've done to our skin happens in the first 15 years of life. So if you look back at your childhood up to 15, yeah, I used to walk around with shorts, no shoes, and no shirt, and try to get as dark as I could by the end of March and in June. And so that the rest of the summer, I would never wear a shirt and I would never sunburn, but I'd be really tan. And so I'm sure there's been damage done, and that's going to show up the rest of your life. So skin cancer cells, damaged cells is going to be there. What I would recommend is doing something that's going to heal tissue. Okay, and we've got a few. We talked about aloe vera. We talked about demulcents. We talked anything that's going to heal the cells. The membrane of the cell. Cancer is usually mutation of the fat membrane or the cell membrane, right? So things that heal that fat or that cell membrane is what I would do. Topically, I go to aloe vera. Okay. You can't get much better. If you want to go to the top of the list, aloe vera. It's the medicinal plant. It's the thing, it grows in the desert for a reason, right? Now there's other things. There's chaparral. There's things like that grow in the desert. There's prickly pear cactus, grows in the desert, same kind of quality. There's things like that you could use topically. There's the malva plant we talked about. If I were to do something and do that, and it's just to heal in general, I'd wash my body with that stuff every day to heal the damage that's already been done in the first 15 years of your life. Okay? It's the best you can do. It's the best you could hope for. The next thing is internally, if you've got cancer cells, you could do things like the mushrooms. I don't have all the mushrooms, but I brought one out. Turkey tail. We've probably all heard of this by now. Turkey tail mushrooms. This one is for stage 2 cancer. So the mushrooms in general are good for your immune system. They boost it and they fight cancer cells. There's all kinds of great things about mushrooms in general. I would love to grow mushrooms. I would love to have a big warehouse full of mushrooms. And they talk to each other. They communicate. There's so many amazing stories. And I don't know much about mushrooms, but I've heard stories and things about mushrooms, like they are just incredible. Fungus. That's what I would do. I'd drink mushroom tea every day. I would do that anyway, just for prevention, right? But if you had cancer or anything going on, that's how I would treat it internally. I'd make a cocktail of mushrooms. Reishi mushroom, shiitake mushroom, turkey tail mushroom. Those are my 3 heavy hitters. Chaga mushroom. Where's chaga mushroom come from? Birch, birch, birch bark. So you've got birch bark too. Birch bark has the constituent that's in chaga mushroom. So if you want to go right to the source, birch bark. Just a little side note. I keep birch bark here. We're getting kind of past the hour. We got another question? Go ahead. Herbs are fresh. I think herbs stay fresh based on how you keep them. That's a good question. So if I gave you a Ziploc bag full of leaf herbs, leaves are light, aerial properties. Flowers are light, aerial properties. And then you go to roots that are dense. And how they keep berries, everything is a little different. How they oxidize, how quickly they oxidize depends on where you keep them. I keep them in glass jar. 6 months is the average lifespan of an herb if you kept it at your house. Most people keep things in tins, bags. There's a lot of air, a lot of oxidation going on. They don't last. You get a good jar, keep it tight, keep it out of the light. It should last. I've got herbs that last over a year. And you know they do because they smell. If I open this up, no, I smell it. And that's how you test it. You can't smell anything and you know it's got a smell. This is straggler. Strong. I've had this over a year. That says a lot. But on average, 6 months. Tinctures last longer. There's alcohol. Depends on how you make them. If you make them in vinegar, they last even longer. Glycerin too. Honey too. That's all preservative. Vitamin E, that's a preservative. I would add a side note to the things that you make for your skin. It's honey, bee pollen, or beeswax. You can add vitamin E. I would add vitamin E oil to everything because it's a preservative. Yeah. What else? Did I answer that question? These have been tough questions, everyone. And I had to use the book a couple times. But I think we covered a lot of basics. I mean, I could get more into like the herbs themselves, meaning like how long they last or how do you make them. I did say, I'll just end with a real quick, when you're making tea, because tea is my favorite way, drinking the medicine. And I use it straight from the raw form to get the highest potency from the herb. Roots are going to go in longer. I'd say 15, 20 minutes steeping time. And then your leaves and aerial portions like flowers are going to go 10 to 15 minutes steeping time. You don't want to overdo that with the leaves. The lighter it is, sometimes the more you need. The denser it is, the less you need. So that's another, those little rules of thumb that I use for making tea. Lighter in density. Yeah. So if it's aerial, I would call it like red clover is a little light flower. Very light, airy. You take more of that to get the amount that you would get in an elderberry. Yeah. So it'd be less to less, the ratio of what you would need. Mushrooms, same thing. They take up a lot of space, but they're kind of aerial. They're kind of light. So you can break them up, get more in there, measure it that way. A 2-to-1 versus a 1-to-1 ratio. Tinctures, same thing. If you're making your tinctures, you got to think of the ratio to alcohol to herb. I make mine way high. So I cram in a ton of herb into the alcohol and then wring out the herb to get all the constituent that's very thick and heavy. Most of the stuff you get is not that heavy. You know, herb farm is, I said I'd mention companies, and I'm not getting paid. So I don't like to mention companies, but a lot of you guys are out there buying stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there. I see in the pharmacies, Walgreens, whatnot, and I see this stuff that's really just, people are throwing money away buying stuff. Talking about stuff you could get from your food, and you're buying a capsule for $75. It's just ridiculous. So herb farm is one. If I was buying tinctures, I always go to herb farm. Yeah, you can find them online. The stores have them. I don't. I do make tinctures every once in a while, and some people like bilberry, and I'll make a bilberry tincture every year. And just a few people like that, and I'll help them out with that, but I don't sell stuff. Life Extensions is another company that if you're a supplement taker, they just seem like a really good, everything I've looked at, I'm really happy with them. And I've started to take that product for my multivitamins and stuff that I would take. If you were to take something for cholesterol or systems like that, that you could go that route. You could check that out. Another one is Western Herb Company. Western Herbal. You could check that out. But yeah, like I said, I'm not promoting any of that. I don't like to promote companies. I get paid. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't have stuff like this. So keep in mind, I have an herbal store. Yeah. Yeah. That wouldn't make sense. No. So that question, and I'll repeat the question just for the online. And the question is, if I had in my home, my personal medicine cabinet, herb collection that I've developed over time, and I had something in there that was over a year old, sometimes people buy stuff by the pound. That's a lot of herbs, and they won't go through it. And a lot of times people bring stuff in, it's in that bag, that Ziploc bag, and it's not even Ziplocked. And they'll say, here, can you want my herb? It's over a year old. Well, it's no good. But I get your question. I'm getting to it. I don't need it, so why did I buy it? I don't do that. This is, if you're, yeah. You don't go to the store and just don't go window shopping when you buy herbs. Don't go, that one's cool. I'm going to buy that one. I'm going to buy that one. I'm going to buy that one. Because you can get into that trap. Like, oh, that one's, yeah. That you answered your own question. If you had if you had this jar and it was full of herbs, just if you took this is a straggler. The question is, if I took a straggler, how long is it going to last? And this is I've had this over a year and it's still good. Okay, so but if you were I don't take it all the time. It sits on the shelf mainly, closed in the dark, and so it's lasting a long time. It's good stuff. And because I don't open it and close it, open it and close it, open and close it. But if you were using this every day, this amount would probably last you 3 months. This is probably less than 3 months supply. Yeah. So that gives you an amount. That's like, this is like, okay, so they sell herbs in like ounces, 4 ounce, 6 ounce, 12 ounce. I always buy 4 ounce. I never buy a pound of anything. Because of that, I know it's probably going to go bad and it's too much to store. You don't want big containers. The bigger the container, the more oxygen, the more oxidation. But the tighter you pack something in, that's why I went to small jars and I pack it in there, the less oxidation. The less you open it up, the less oxidation, the less light, the less oxidation. Stuff like that. So like these ones, if I have leaves and stuff, I'll pack it right to the lid. I'll cram it in. This isn't just thrown in there. It's crammed in there because less air. It lasts longer. So that's a little trick that you can use to make your product last longer. But if I was using this, this would last me a month, 3 months if I was taking this every day. My nettles that I go through, the regular stuff that I go through, I'll buy 4 ounces every 3 months. Yeah. And that's a regular. My regulars, I'll order every 3 months. I'm ordering herbs all the time throughout the year. Even though I'm the main primary user of my herbs. And so there's a whole section in there in the middle that I'm going through. And it's 4 ounces at a time. And then you're safe. You won't go wrong. Don't go pound. Don't be the pound baby. You like looking. Yeah, less is more. That is a good rule. Because I know what you're talking about. Does that make sense? Is a good answer? Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. And then you get discouraged though. You fall into when you do too much and you have high expectations and then it goes bad, then you're like, oh, I'm not going to do that again. Yeah, it can set you up for failure that way too. So don't get the whole apothecary at once. Start small. Just do a little bit, integrate it into your system, get familiar with it. It may work, it may not work, resonate, and then you go from there, and then you build. Like this didn't happen overnight. This happened a little bit at a time. And then you get more familiar and then you can handle more. And then you go from there. Thanks, Kathleen. Okay. Yeah, well, we're pretty much ready to wrap it up. I think we're at the tail end. That was a good question to end it. Yeah, any other question, feedback? Yeah. There's a little plug for a movie called Fantastic Fungi. Suzanne just plugged. And you can learn about mushrooms that way. Yeah. And, anything you see, take it with a grain of salt. Because usually when you see something, they're selling something. So be advised, not that is. Educational stuff is good to get. And the more you learn, better off you are. But, things change. My teacher used to say, herbs lose their sex appeal, meaning like what happened to ginkgo biloba, right? If you remember golden seal, if you look back, moringa, there's always one that's going to save us all, and that's sex appeal. And that's the thing you have to watch out for, because I'll stick to mine, what I know, but they'll come and go out of favorability and popularity. And then you'll look in the magazines, and they've got to do that. They've got to come across the new thing. And then you hear, this one's going to fix me. And then you ditch what you're doing and go to that. And so that's that other thing that you got to be aware of. Oh, it's a great one. One of the best.
Hey, Ben.
Yep.
On Facebook, something I found recently, if anybody's interested, it's like a tincture group, like an
Yeah.
herb tincture group. That's kind of, I haven't really learned anything yet in the last couple of weeks from it, but it's really interesting to listen to what they, it's called Tincture Salve Herbal Sharing Club.
Okay. Cool. We'll pass that on.
Yeah. So,
All
okay.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheila. Thanks, everybody.